Most people think DAOs are defined by code, smart contracts, voting logic, multi-sig wallets, all the mechanical pieces we've already covered. The truth is simpler and far more important. None of that matters if the culture underneath is broken. DAO culture is the invisible layer that decides how people behave, how decisions get made, and whether the treasury is used responsibly. It's the part you never see on a dashboard, but it's the part that determines everything. Because once you strip away the code, a DAO is just people. People with beliefs, habits, incentives, and expectations. And those unwritten rules, the identity, the participation norms, the incentive structure, the way conflict gets handled, that's what actually drives governance. DAO culture is the operating system behind the operating system. Today, we're breaking down how it works. Every DAO begins with a story that tells itself. Some DAOs see themselves as builders pushing a frontier. Others see themselves as investors allocating capital. Others operate like activist collectives or curators and research guilds. The identity isn't written in a constitution. It emerges from the people who show up and the values they reinforce. That identity becomes the lens through which every proposal is judged. It determines what the community considers valuable, what it considers wasteful, and what it considers aligned with its mission. A DAO's identity is its compass. Without it, governance becomes directionless, and decisions feel arbitrary. If identity is the compass, participation norms are the unwritten rulebook. They determine who speaks, who votes, who leads discussions, and who actually shows up when governance matters. Some DAOs have a culture where everyone participates, where every discussion is active, and where contributors feel comfortable challenging ideas. Others fall into patterns where only a handful of loud voices dominate every conversation, and everyone else quietly disengages. Participation norms shape the tone of governance. They decide whether proposals evolve through debate or stagnate through silence. They decide whether contributors feel welcome or alienated. When participation norms are strong, governance feels alive. When they're weak, governance feels dead. No one contributes to a DAO out of pure charity. People show up because the DAO makes it worth their time, socially, financially, or reputationally. Incentives can take the form of token rewards, reputation systems, social status, access to opportunities, or influence over treasury decisions. When incentives are aligned, contributors feel motivated, proposals improve, and the governance becomes a shared effort. When incentives are misaligned, contributors drift away, turnout drops, and governance becomes a chore. Incentive alignment is the engine of DAO culture. It determines whether people feel like owners or spectators. Every DAO has conflict. The question is whether it has a way to resolve it. Healthy DAOs debate, escalate, and settle disagreements without blowing up the community. They have norms around how to challenge ideas, how to handle disputes, and how to move forward after disagreement. DAOs without conflict resolution collapse under the weight of unresolved tension. Contributors leave, proposals stall, governance becomes toxic. But DAOs with strong conflict resolution evolve. They turn disagreement into progress. They turn friction into refinement. Conflict resolution is the difference between a DAO that fractures and a DAO that grows stronger. Code is rigid. Culture is adaptive. Code enforces rules. Culture decides direction. Smart contracts can execute, enforce, restrict, and automate, but they can't motivate, inspire, align, mediate, or build trust. They can't create belonging. They can't create purpose. They cannot create shared identity. So culture fills the gaps code can't solve. It's the human layer that makes governance work. Without culture, code becomes a skeleton with no muscle. With culture, code becomes a foundation that people can build upon. Treasury decisions are made by people, and people follow culture. A DAO with strong culture spends strategically, writes high-quality proposals, maintains responsible multi-sig behavior, and produces transparent reporting. A DAO with weak culture spends chaotically, writes low-effort proposals, suffers from governance fatigue, and wastes treasury resources. Culture is the difference between a DAO that grows and a DAO that dies. It determines whether the treasury becomes a tool for progress or a liability that drags the community down. Now, if you want a deeper dive into how culture shapes decentralized governance, it's all in my book, Understanding Crypto, a clear guide for new investors. The full breakdown of identity, incentives, and human layer behind the code. Of course, I'll drop a link for you. And if this helped you understand how DAO culture actually drives governance, stay tuned. The next episode in this arc is the real DAO dashboard, the part where everything you've learned becomes visible, measurable, and trackable. We're going to walk through how a real dashboard shows identity, participation incentives, conflict patterns, and treasury flow all in one place. So stay locked.